I'm Katel Le Goulven, and this is Mission to Change, the show where I hear from people who turn business into a force for good and learn about their journey to make it happen.
One of the more impactful conversations that I had with my friends was actually about how often they should be washing their jeans and how often they should be washing their clothes. And really, do you need to wash them after every single use? And you don't.
Today, I meet with Agata Smeets, Director of Global Sustainability at The Gap, a leading apparel company. Agata is on a mission to transform supply chains to minimize their environmental impact.
My name is Agata Smeets. I am Director of Global Sustainability at The Gap. I am based out of Hong Kong, and I look after environmental sustainability in Gap's supply chain, focused on water, as well as climate, raw materials, and other sustainable environmental sustainability impacts.
The World Bank has declared water pollution as the invisible crisis. The apparel and textile industry is a major contributor to this crisis due to its huge water usage. Textile production requires 93 billion cubic meters of water annually, representing 4% of all global freshwater withdrawal. Yet today, only 7 apparel companies make this issue a priority. The Gap is one of them. It's also the 6th largest apparel and footwear company in the world. And Agata has set up to integrate water conservation in the Gap's manufacturing. Her drive to protect the environment started with her first corporate job in the mid-2000s.
I worked at a company called the Corporate Executive Board, which is now part of Gartner. I ended up doing a lot of interviews with real estate executives who were very concerned with energy management, with LEED buildings, with minimizing the environmental impact of their real estate portfolio. And that to me opened up a whole world of this is actually interesting. Like it's not dry real estate, and nothing against kind of real estate, but it was definitely a much more interesting perspective. And I was able to, weasel my way in, for lack of a better word, into helping to start up a sustainability-focused research group at the company. It was called the Sustainability Forum, and I ended up producing a lot of research, a lot of analysis for that group. We had about 800 executives signed up at our high point. And so that was really my first introduction to sustainability. And it just, I was hooked from then on. It was kind of always what I focused on, but I also took a little bit of a circuitous route. I wasn't always after kind of the sustainability title, but much more the content of what I was doing.
Agata kept this focus when going back to school for her MBA, becoming a consultant for Deloitte, and joining The Gap in 2014.
I wanted to work at a company that had a tangible supply chain, so was making a product instead of a company that was kind of selling services. And so a position at The Gap came to my attention through my Deloitte network. And it was, I believe the position originally was to look at fabric platforming in the Gap supply chain. And I had no idea what fabric platforming was. But what really interested me about it was Gap was going through a major transformation of its supply chain. And that to me was really exciting. It was a major initiative in the company. And when I was looking at different positions, I knew that it was better to learn in Gap's supply chain practice or supply chain group than it was to go after a position in sustainability. Now, obviously, that's not for everyone, but that was my thinking at the time. And so, and I was right. I joined for fabric platforming, and I think within a month, my job had evolved.
Agata had a clear idea of the role she wanted to perform within the Gap. And it was a water cooler conversation that turned her wish into reality.
The conversation was very much a hallway conversation, as the best conversations are. The person who became my future boss was visiting the office in San Francisco. And he very candidly and casually asked me what I wanted to do. What I said was, I want to focus on sustainability. This is what I'm passionate about. But I don't want to be on the sustainability team right now. I was clear that I wanted to be in the supply chain, but I thought there was a real opportunity for supply chain to look at environmental sustainability. It was something that was really taking off, and we needed to look at it. He thought it was a great idea, and it took about 4-5 months. But at the end of it, I had an offer to move to Hong Kong. It was really, I think, a little bit of an experiment where, I was a one-woman team moving to Hong Kong with a goal to reduce water consumption in our supply chain. And the company was willing to make a bet and put a little bit of investment in to see how that would happen. And, I was just over the moon. It was a dream job for me.
How do we move from a chat in a hallway after a meeting in San Francisco to a whole new job in Hong Kong as a one-woman show to change the Gap supply chain?
I am sure that there were a lot of conversations that went on above my head, because I remember after that conversation, I was pulled into meetings with several of the leaders of the supply chain group, who just wanted to confirm, like, they had heard that I wanted this. Is this really what I wanted? Okay. And, and to Gap's credit, they made it happen. The important thing in this story is that when someone asks you what your vision is, what you want to do, you have to at least have an idea that you can articulate somewhat coherently. It doesn't have to be super polished, and it cannot be rigid. You have to be flexible with how it turns out, but you at least have to have that kernel or nugget of an idea to pitch to others. And, I was lucky enough that conversation came to me, but I'm sure that plenty of others have initiated these conversations proactively and gotten the same results that I did.
So here we are, Hong Kong. Had you been to Hong Kong before?
Nope. I signed the offer, and then my fiance and I had just gotten engaged when I had this conversation with my future boss. And I was like, at least I said, okay, let me go check. I have a fiance now. I can't just tell you yes right away. And I have a wonderful husband who is a photographer with kind of a pretty flexible business. And so he was totally jazzed to move out to Hong Kong. So I signed the offer. We got married in San Francisco City Hall, and went to Hong Kong for 3-4 days to check it out, already having signed the offer, and then moved a month later.
So now you have that responsibility of pushing sustainability in supply chains. How do you get started?
When I first arrived in Hong Kong, it was really with a mandate to look at water. The reason why we started with the manufacturing part was really because we felt that we had more influence, more visibility and a little bit more control over what we could do to affect and impact change at that level. So one of the first things that I did, I remember, was really started to map out where our textile mills were. We knew that fabric dyeing and was where a lot of the biggest water impact in manufacturing was located. Obviously, there is a huge water impact as well in the raw material cultivation stage, but that was a little bit out of scope at that time. And so I knew that I wanted to focus on mills. And for us, it was really understanding, okay, we work with mills, but then what are the actual production facilities of these mills? Where are they located? And what do we know about them from an environmental perspective?
Agata started to collect data on water consumption at production facilities. And to get supplier engaged, she built on water efficiency programs that had been initiated a few years earlier and were already delivering data and results.
And we saw very reliable water savings from, sometimes very easy and quick investments that our suppliers would make to improve the efficiency of their operations. And so we knew that it was also a good starting point for us to focus on water reduction. And soon after that, we did come up with a public goal to reduce our water consumption by 10 billion liters of water in our manufacturing supply chain.
Can you, just so that I get a sense of volumes here as a company and through its supply chains, I mean, what's the volume of water we're talking about?
The volume of water that is used in an apparel supply chain for a global retailer is oftentimes the $1 million question. It is very, very hard to estimate water usage across the supply chain. At that point in time, I believe our 10 billion liter water goal represented about 14 or 15% of our overall water consumption that we had calculated. Now, again, estimates.
She focused on processing facilities where the gap could have the most influence, and on refining the measurement methodology to define a goal for which progress could be tracked. In 2017, the GAP announced that it would save 10 billion liters of water in manufacturing by the end of 2020, based on the 2014 baseline. The execution plan to get there required suppliers to assess their water usage, identify possible savings, and act on it. Agata's role was to accompany them through every step of the way.
The first step we took was really focused on how do we get our suppliers signed up for these efficiency assessments, opportunity assessments that were being offered. We pitched them the business case for why they should join.
And so just like the GAP funded all this for all the suppliers that was sponsored by the company?
We co-funded. We wanted our suppliers to have skin in the game in order to participate, in order to take it seriously. We would co-invest and help cover the cost of that program for them to receive that to do that assessment with external environmental experts. And then we would, obviously we would influence them, try to incentivize them to make the investments that the assessments uncovered. So that was really the starting point. And what we found was that, as we looked at where our suppliers were geographically, there weren't programs available in those geographies. And so we actually created cohorts. Now that I think about it, it was kind of like Wild West. So we wanted to focus on the big guys and the guys that we had a lot of business with. So we were targeting maybe a pool of 100, 150 suppliers. spread geographically. So in China, in India, Pakistan, Vietnam, some in Southeast Asia. We worked with very credible external environmental consultants, and we created cohorts of our suppliers that we invited to join these efficiency assessments. What we found that was actually really great was that uh, as supplier, we were focused on water, and we asked them to make water investments, but a lot of them were more interested or just as interested in making energy investments. And so and sometimes it was kind of the same projects that saved both water and energy. And so when we were putting together our strategy for our science-based target, we realized that we were already well on our way from an efficiency perspective, the efficiency lever of that strategy, because of all of the work that we had done on water.
Do you have information on whether that also reduced costs for them?
It did. Yeah. There's validation of water savings, energy savings, and also kind of the investments that the suppliers put in and the cost savings that they were able to achieve. So all of these programs have great data on cost savings for suppliers.
The GAP achieved its water saving goal ahead of the 2020 deadline. As mentioned by Agata, partnerships played a key role in getting there. They partnered with suppliers to identify and increase efficiency, and they also partnered to develop waterless innovations.
One of them was our Washwell initiative, which is most prominent in Gap brand. OEM company, a manufacturer of laundry equipment for denim laundries. And they are very, very innovative, have come up with basically machines that save a lot of water compared to their conventional machines. And they also have a software where you can input your wash recipe for your denim, and the software calculates your water consumption for that pair of denim. And so we had created a program saying, if we're able to save at least 20% of water from a conventional wash recipe, and we defined kind of all benchmarks that we used to calculate these savings, then we would be able to call the denim as Washwell denim. And so that program got started, and we've achieved more than 1 billion liters in water savings.
As the GAP became recognized for its water-saving ideas and practices, suppliers started to reach out to them to collaborate on saving even more water.
It was really amazing to see kind of all of the work that we had done on water being noticed and valued by our suppliers, and our suppliers proactively approaching us with innovations on water. So the best example of that is our partnership with Arvind. Arvind Limited is a big denim mill and spinner and mill in India that is a longtime partner of ours. And their goal was to eliminate all freshwater usage in their operations. And so they approached us and said, hey, we know you have a goal. We have a goal. Let's see what we can do together. And so we actually ended up co-investing with them in building a wastewater treatment plant that took municipal wastewater from the surrounding community, treated it, and used it as processed water in their denim facility. And so that denim facility, still water for, hygienic purposes is still fresh water. But anything that is processed water comes from basically recycled water from the surrounding community. So we were that was great in helping us reach our goal, our 10 billion liter water goal. But I think it also demonstrated much more in terms of just proactive partnership, innovation, ability to really come together for very similar goals, very similar purposes. So we are currently building a innovation center, a center of excellence with Arvind to focus on all different best practices in water management, water recycling, water innovation, to be able to take these ideas to the industry, really be able to showcase these ideas to our suppliers and also, all wet processing manufacturers, and to be able to further reduce water usage in the industry.
And you use we a lot, but you told me that you started alone. So I know you didn't do everything alone, but tell me what you did. I mean, you're the one who started that, right?
I think, one of my biggest accomplishments when I look back on it personally is building up the relationships with my sourcing partners. And I was part of the sourcing strategy team in Hong Kong, having this role, but really learning about sourcing, learning about product development, learning about how a supply chain works, and understanding how to tackle, how to structure the strategy. As a one-person team, I knew that I couldn't do it all myself. I didn't have the expertise, I didn't have the relationships, I didn't have the knowledge. And so I had to rely on my sourcing partners to implement a lot of the things that we were trying to do and to talk to the suppliers, to convince the suppliers, to influence. I think a lot of the benefit of me being out in Hong Kong and me being actually part of the sourcing team, not as much part of the sustainability team.
Agata's strategy of focusing on content, in this case, the sourcing part, brings more impact than focusing on title.
The stereotype of, sourcing versus sustainability in a way is just, it's not, it doesn't hold as much truth anymore. Yeah, because a lot of very sustainability minded people are just sourcing people. And so whenever I talk to kind of students or people just starting out in their career, and people are so focused on getting a sustainability title, and it's like, you don't have to be in sustainability to do sustainability. Actually, you are probably going to be much more powerful if you act and if you're empowered to make decisions with a sustainability mindset from a different part of the organization, where you have a lot of, P&L control, you have a lot of control over product design decisions. That's really a position of power. And that's where you want to be within a company versus, the appeal of being in sustainability is that you can kind of focus on it all the time. And it's a great position to be in, but ultimately it is not you who makes the decision about what to do. Oftentimes you are the advisor, you are the thought partner. And so if you can be a closeted sustainability person in those other functions, that's a great position to be in.
You've been on the job for 5 years, is that correct?
5 years, yes.
So can you tell me what, roughly what's happened in terms of your, did the size of your team, the impact of the team?
In the past 5 years, I have gotten team members, which is great. So I now have a team of 4, including myself, who are focused on environmental sustainability in the supply chain. We cover a much wider scope than just water. But in terms of water, we are very much, moving beyond kind of efficiency and moving beyond focusing on our manufacturing footprint. We are now tackling the wider the wider supply chain, the wider value chain, and water impact. So looking at water impact of cotton, water issues in cotton growing communities and manufacturing communities. We're really evolving into a much more holistic strategy with how we look at water, which is super, super exciting.
And in terms of, because you really function as an entrepreneur here within Gap, can you tell me what's been, from your perspective, the key elements from within the company that made this possible?
The key elements that have made success in my role possible were, I think, first and foremost, a support from leadership and support from management. Now, that doesn't mean agreeing to everything that we wanted to do and just writing a blank check. But when I look back on it, there has been a lot of support, a lot of encouragement, and I think that has been instrumental to helping us achieve what we've been able to achieve. I think making the required budget available in that way has been huge as well. That can't be understated.
Do you think that you would have been able to have the similar impact if you had been in the sustainability team working closely with the suppliers, but from the sustainability team, or not? You wouldn't have been able to do it.
It's funny because I was reflecting on this question because my team is now part of the sustainability team, and I think it's been a great move for us to be integrated within the sustainability team. It's the information flows much more easily. We participate a lot more in kind of the non-supply chain initiatives of the sustainability team. But at first, I was very skeptical. I was an embedded resource within supply chain. I didn't know whether I really wanted to, go back into a centralized function. And I think that what worked well was that because I was part of, and my team was part of sourcing strategy for 4 out of the last 5 years, we were able to get great relationships built. Then, as we became part of the sustainability team, we kept that. We kept that, but we gained the benefits of being kind of in a larger centralized team.
What would you say to someone, who works in a company, whatever industry, whatever the business, and really want to start, having more positive impact?
I think the easiest thing to do is connect with your sustainability team first, understand the initiatives that they're working on. They always need help if you want to get involved. They always love to have someone kind of from the business who is interested, who is able to provide perspective and their point of view. And I think the biggest thing that you can do is really understand how sustainability impacts your job, and what types of decisions, how can you think differently about what you do with a sustainability perspective in mind. And I guarantee you that there will be a lot of opportunities with that of affecting change.
What advice would you give to yourself just coming out of school and not knowing where to start?
One of the best things that you can do is really learn and become an expert in, for example, a given industry or a given function, and then apply or then transition to sustainability, because you will be with the industry or with the functional knowledge that you will gain, you will be a lot more powerful than without it. So I think a career in sustainability is really a long-term play, and it's by no means a linear career.
Because, as a matter of fact, there are not that many job ads in that space, to be honest.
Yeah, that's right. And I talk to a lot of students who are so focused on kind of getting a sustainability position that I think oftentimes they miss out on looking more broadly. And I know I've been there. I know how kind of tempting and how exciting it is to actually find what seems like the perfect sustainability position. But oftentimes the more exciting positions are not actually in sustainability, but can then help you in your sustainability career. I think you need to be self-aware to really understand what it is that you like, what type of functional job you like, what type of tasks or assignments or problems you like to solve. Within sustainability, there is a space for all of these roles. And so you need to be self-aware enough and do the reflection to really understand what you want to do. And a lot of these skills can be learned without a sustainability title. And then you can transition into sustainability.
Mission to Change is a podcast by the INSEAD Hoffman Global Institute for Business and Society, in collaboration with Intent. Created and produced by Human Humans. Original music, sound design, and mixing by Palomino. Special thanks to Kritika Subramanian, Isabel Stark, and Maria Latorre. If you like the show, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. And for more, visit insead.edu/mission to change.